The Thrivehood Podcast is a relevant life roadmap for boys and young men who want to thrive as they mature into manhood. I'll be your host, Tim Williams, and welcome to Thrivehood. There's a husband that is getting ready to go out and head to the hardware store. As he's walking out the door, he turns to his wife and he says, "Hey, honey, I'm heading out to the hardware store." And she says, "Oh, well, by the way, while you're out there, would you pick up 800 lumen bulbs?" And he stops and he says to his wife, he says, 800 flowers? You know, the neighbors will think we're nuts," or something to that extent. And so she laughs, just has this cute little laugh about her husband. And she says, "Not flowers, light bulbs." And shortly after that, the son walks in and he's probably, 14 years old. And he says, "Come on, Dad. Don't you know that lumens actually gives off more light and uses less wattage than regular light bulbs?" Dawns on him that this actually could save money, and he makes the statement, "So we'll save more money." And the mother says, "Yeah, there you go," or something like that. I want to talk to you today about a subject that just grades on me and gets under my skin. But I got to tell you, this strikes at the very core of what Thrivehood is against, 100% against. And that is the male bashing epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, that has just taken over the airwaves. It's an epidemic. It really is. I mean, we talk about COVID over the last 2 years being a pandemic and an epidemic. I'm telling you, male bashing, it's real, guys. It's real. It bothers me and it gets under my skin. It's because it's a falsehood about manhood. It's a falsehood about who we are as men. And I felt like I need to bring some light to this. If you turn on your TV or you listen to iHeartRadio or radio in general, it won't take long. Pay attention. It won't take very long that you'll begin seeing advertising from companies, corporations, and businesses across America. Movies, sitcoms. It's now actually entered into our sports arenas. It is across the board that you will see the position that they put males in and men in are borderline degrading, to be quite honest with you. But you got to be paying attention. And what's sad about that is that this has been going on for a good 10, 15 years at least. And that has become the norm now. Hollywood and the media has now just landed on this and has carried this falsehood and this idea. And look, it's always wrapped in comedy and lightheartedness, but there is truth in that. There's a saying that says, "Many a truth is said in jest." And that's a perfect example of what that statement represents. Now, before I dive into this any further, I want to clarify something. There has also been, up until the last 15, 20 years ago, has been a horrible concept that was laid out back in the 40s and 50s and 60s when television was first coming in to the norm, that women were not painted in a very good light as well. We had women on, same thing, advertisements, TV shows, commercials, everything. They were portrayed as baby factories and homemakers, and all they had to do was have the food ready when the husband came home and the slippers at the end of the chair and a newspaper for him to read. And then she rubbed his feet and took care of him until they went to bed. And she wore a dress all day long and high heels, right? Because she had to look fantastic for him. Well, I'm not going to say that that was necessarily correct either. And so the problem we have is that we allow elitists in our country to dictate the trends and the fads that are going on, and we just accept it, and we just allow that to happen. And so you have this pendulum that swings all the way to the left of how degrading we treated women for 20 years, 30 years in TV and television and advertising. And then it began to slowly swing. Now it's all the way to the other side. Well, now we've just shifted that, and now it's prim and proper to make a man look stupid, overweight, unable to control and manage his life, has to have a woman to manage his affairs, hasn't shaved in 3 days, doesn't even own a shaver or a razor, greasy hair. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. And so I can't stress enough a couple of points. And the first one is this. Be aware of not only this, but be aware in general of what the world tries to dictate to you as to what manhood is. You need to be aware. You need to be on guard, guys, constantly. It also, I forgot, magazines as well. Huge in magazines. It is everywhere that you're going to see and hear things coming into your life that try to dictate what the world would say is manhood. And let me ask you this question. If trends and fads are fleeting, right? Because they are. They're never stable. They're never permanent. They're never long-term. Why on earth would we use that as a benchmark for becoming a man? Let me also say this, point number 2. This is a great opportunity for me to talk about beginning to use what I call filters as things begin to come into your life. What you see, what you look at, and it comes into your eyes and into your mind as you're thinking about it, and what you hear, what comes into your ears and what's funneled through your ears. I would suggest to begin starting to have a filter in which those things that come into your life are sifted through, and you need to identify, is this something that is good? Is this something that preaches positiveness as far as manhood and growing up to be a man? Or does this denounce that? Does this fly in the face of that? Does this sort of make fun of that? What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is anything that's coming into my life and into my body, my mind, if you will. You need to be having your filters up and identifying, hey, I just need to make sure that this is in line with what I believe is a man, what I believe is growing up to be a good, strong, well-balanced man. And I got to tell you, if I were to put that filter on and I watch commercials and sitcoms and radio ads, it wouldn't take very long for me to begin feeling like something isn't right here, and something that would push against what I believe and what I feel is who we are as men. We have to be vigilant, young men. We have to always be on our guard, because we just don't know what the world and what society is trying to push towards us and into us is not necessarily the thing that's going to make us the best that we can be. I'll have to say that in some cases, and I would say probably more times than not, going against the grain, fishing upstream, if you want to use that analogy, is actually not a bad thing. As long as anything that is coming into your life is preaching and announcing and saying, hey, this is what becoming a good, well-rounded man is all about, and this supports what that is, then yes, it's great. If it doesn't, you need to get rid of it. Until next time, guys, stay super strong.